Latest information, we know 150 people are still missing. Let's listen to the governor.
Good afternoon. I've been able to meet with a lot of our first responders. Was able to go over with the fire chief and look at some of the work that's been done, as we've done in many days. And I know a lot of people are looking at that with bated breath, as we all have been for many, many days. And people ask, what, is there hope or what's going to happen? And the way I look at it as an old Navy guy is, when somebody's missing in action in the military, you're missing until you're found, and we don't stop the search. And so I think that that's what's happening. Those first responders are breaking their back, trying to find anybody they can, and they are going to continue to do that. And they've been very selfless. They put themselves at risk to do it. And I thought about that, and then having met this morning with many families who've, this has turned upside down the worlds of a lot of really great people, not only in this state but beyond. And to hear the stories of the folks who are in the towers who either passed away or are missing, the amount of, I think, sympathy that's been pouring in is emblematic of some of the lives that many of these people had been leading. They have touched people all across this world, not just here in southern Florida, and not just throughout the whole state of Florida. And it's been very heartbreaking and very touching, because there's a lot of folks who've have been experiencing some unbelievable pain, and the folks that have either passed away or who are missing are almost invariably incredibly special people who've made a huge impact on not only this community but communities all across the country and all across the world. And so when those guys are out there breaking their back on that pile, when they're digging tunnels and putting themselves in harm's way to try to find a void, to try to find an area where they could potentially rescue people, they have that mission, and they're doing it, and they're not shirking from it, because they understand that in every one of those condominium buildings were people whose our different families' world revolved around them, grandmothers, grandkids, brothers and sisters. And I just thank them for all their efforts, and I thank them for leaving no stone unturned. And the families, we're going to be there for the long haul on this. And we're just not going to look back, and we're going to be there with any support that we can provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. We're going to have Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez speak in Spanish.
Good afternoon. I'll reiterate what the governor said in Spanish.
So the governor, you just heard him saying he met with first responders as well as families this morning, the families of those who have missing loved ones in the wreckage, and of course the loved ones who we already know have passed away, their bodies recovered from the debris. He says there is hope, and of course, as always, recognize the rescue crews. They are breaking their backs out there. They have been working tirelessly in these 12-hour shifts since Thursday morning, since the collapse. He said, quote, "The way I look at it as a Navy guy, when someone is missing in action, you're missing until found. We do not stop the search." So rescue crews are out there. They're gonna keep going until they find every single one of this missing 150 people. We're waiting for the mayor to give us an update on the missing as well as the bodies recovered.
And so according to the governor's schedule, he not only met with our first responders, the men and women they're going through the rubble, he actually also met with families of the victims, as you heard him mention. We know, again, this is according to his schedule, so things could have changed, but he was set to meet with North Bay Village Police Chief Carlos Noriega, which, as we've been telling you, is actually the son of one of the victims, Hilda Noriega. He also met with the family of Maggie Vasquez Bello, who is a mom of at least 2 to 3 children, from what I'm told. She was actually staying in her condo and had her friend Francis Fernandez stay with her the night of this collapse. The governor also meeting with Marcus Gara, who police have identified as one of the victims found in the rubble not too long ago. We also know that his wife Anna and their children Lucia and Emma are still missing this morning. And as we've been mentioning, 150 people are still missing. Those are so many families still waiting for those answers and desperate to know something, anything at all about their loved ones.
400 first responders on a local, a state, and federal level have been out there searching for that 150 missing. Looks like they're going to have someone else coming up to the stand, and hopefully we can hear the update. The mayor is about to speak.
Here we are, day 6, and the search and rescue continues. It continued throughout the night, throughout the morning. There are currently 210 people working on the mound. The urban search and rescue team has been augmented by teams from all over the state and all over the world. They are working throughout inclement weather. They're working as hard as they ever have, but they are able to make headway even in the face of all of those obstacles. So they're continuing with the 12-hour shifts. They take breaks. They're monitored medically, and just to make sure that they can get back safely on the mound, because it is such painstaking, grueling work. I cannot express enough how grateful we are for their service, their sacrifice, their passion. They live to save lives, and that is what we are witnessing. Their bravery under extremely difficult circumstances, continuing and continuing. We're also so very grateful for everyone who has joined us in this effort. Global teams, state teams, and national teams on standby for us so that we can relieve the wonderful men and women out there. We truly have the best in the world conducting this effort. The federal teams of the USAR search and rescue personnel are rotating in with our current teams. There are more than sufficient personnel on site. We do not need additional resources. We have the best, and we have sufficient, what we need to get this job done. Since our last briefing, no new fatalities have been confirmed, but we have been able to notify each of the 11 families who have lost their loved ones. This is very, very important that the notification has been able to occur, and we're grateful to our Miami-Dade Police Department for their very sensitive handling of this difficult matter. And all the names have been released to the public through our social media platforms. And today we were also very grateful to learn that our president, Joe Biden, will be visiting Surfside on Thursday. He's going to spend time with the families who are affected and with our first responders. We've had his support since he called me day 1 in the morning, and this is so critical that we do have our federal support. So we are very, very grateful for that, and we know that his support will continue throughout. I also want you to know that I've been in close touch with our state attorney, Catherine Fernandez-Rundle, and I am very supportive of the grand jury investigation that she has announced. I have pledged my full cooperation as she moves forward. I have worked closely with grand juries in the past. I'm very familiar with the process, and I will do, and my team will do everything possible to aid them in their efforts to continue that investigation. As I mentioned yesterday, our building audit also continues, and we're taking swift action to immediately identify and address any outstanding issues with the buildings that have not yet completed their 40-year certification process. That's our priority right now. And just last night, our building officer notified one of those properties, a building in Northeast Dade, that 4 balconies must be immediately closed to residents due to safety conditions. So we are proceeding apace with all of the buildings identified, and I know within a matter of days or short weeks we will have addressed all of those safety concerns. And today I am also making an announcement that I will be meeting with subject area experts from multiple relevant fields, from engineering to legal to construction to development to soil to geology, to look closely at every possible angle on this issue related to building safety. So we They will advise me on issues related to building construction, chain of custody and requirements for reporting, condominium regulation, and more, so that my staff and I can develop a set of recommendations for changes that need to be made at all steps in the building process to ensure a tragedy like this will never, ever happen again. And I will be meeting with these experts in the very near future, and I will be planning to look for additional experts who can advise me once further insights are achieved from this investigation. So we'll continue to pull in additional experts as new information becomes available to ensure that we're considering all possible angles, all possible factors and perspectives. For the families who've been impacted by this tragedy, we are continuing to do all that we can to support them in any way that they need. So our new expanded Family Assistance Center has over 20 agencies now offering support, short and long-term counseling, home assistance, travel assistance, psychological and grief counseling, financial assistance, visa and passport support, and much more. In addition, legal support. And we're going to continue to offer our twice daily briefings to the families, and we just completed our morning session before this conference. These sessions have been vital to assisting families to understand the nature of this search, the nature of the entire enterprise. And this is so, so important as we proceed daily on our search and rescue efforts to have them fully aware of every step of the process. So please, I know you join with me in your prayers, your wishes, your hopes during this incredibly difficult time for our families. La misión de búsqueda y rescate continúa.
So the headline here from Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, no new fatalities have been confirmed. The death count remains at 11 this morning, but all the families of those 11 have been notified. She also mentioned the president and the first lady are going to be visiting Surfside on Thursday. The president's going to be meeting with first responders and families. The mayor also announcing her support for a grand jury investigation by the state attorney, Catherine Fernandez-Rondon, into that building collapse. The mayor saying she's planning on meeting with experts in different fields to find out how this could have happened, experts in soils, structure, anything that could have been the cause of this collapse.
And she did start off by saying, quote, "The search and rescue continues." It's day 6 since this collapse happened. Remember, it happened last Thursday. Day 6, and they are continuing to search through this rubble tirelessly, nonstop. We're talking about 12 hours off, 12 hours on, but the work doesn't stop. The shifts are 12 hours long, but the work there is going on 24 hours a day. And as we just mentioned, no new victims have been found. The mayor did also explain that there are 20 different agencies helping the families of these victims. We're talking about agencies that will help medically, legally, helping these families with visas and passports. We know that for the past few days, there have been different officials mentioning that they're going to be cooperating and working with other countries as far as getting visas for the victims' families to be able to come here to Surfside, come here to South Florida, and be here during this entire process. But again, we're just learning now, no new bodies have been found, no new victims have been found in this rubble. So the search continues at this hour.
And over the weekend, she had announced that she was doing a 30-day building audit for all residential properties that are either 5 stories and higher at the recertification point, which is if they're 40 years or older, that have not completed the process, because there is quite a bit of concern out there considering this condo collapsed. It's on the beach. This is multi-million-dollar condos in that building. It's frightening for other condo residents, other owners out there. So she's doing an audit. She announced that the county's inventory actually revealed 14 buildings in unincorporated Dade that actually meet that criteria. So essentially, they're going to be investigating any issues with these buildings to ensure that this does not happen again. We also know from the press conference from yesterday that NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, are on scene. They're going to be investigating that structural structural damage of the building, preserving evidence. They have extensive experience, including working in the aftermath of 9/11. They're going to decide on whether a larger investigation is going to be needed. That could potentially change federal law, code enforcement to again ensure that this does not happen again.
And you can see that it just started raining there, so the weather continues to be just one of the many obstacles the men and women they're going through the rubble have to deal with. The rain, that fire, we're not talking about that fire anymore, the fire we talked about for several days, that stubborn fire. We're not talking about that anymore. So that at least is one less distraction or one less thing they have to deal with, so that all their attention can go towards that, towards the searching. But as you can see, it's starting to rain once again, but they're not stopping. They're not stopping.
Yeah, there's 210 rescue workers, she said, right now currently on that mound. So imagine that. And you're seeing video on the right hand of your screen. That's from earlier this week where they were underneath, and they still are. They're underneath the building. They're trying to create a tunnel. They were able to create a tunnel about 125 feet long, 20 feet wide, and 40 feet deep. So imagine that. Those crews working on that, they're doing that in hopes that they'll find someone, any sort of survivors down there. So they built that trench. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue crews building that trench to help find more survivors under there, because again, the count remains the same. 11 bodies recovered and 150 missing. Let's listen in.
Good afternoon. Under the leadership of the mayor, Miami-Dade County is coordinating a unified search, rescue, and assistance efforts consisting of multiple county departments, such as Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, Miami-Dade Police Department, Water and Sewer, Durham, ISD, County Attorney's Office, and much others. In addition to our federal, state, local, international, and not-for-profit organizations. This has led to a seamless integration of these resources throughout the event. We continue to prosper and utilize these agencies, up to 60 at this time, and over 800 responders who are supporting this effort, integrating into our unified response and ensuring a successful search and rescue effort. Thank you.
Now the Director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management, Kevin Guthrie.
Good morning, everyone. As far as state resources to update, well, first of all, because of the weather, we have the new tent system, which I'm sure you guys will appreciate. In addition to that, we have over 440 state employees involved in on-site response efforts. Those 440 do include the state emergency response team-led mutual aid search and rescue teams. We continue to provide assistance through items such as the laundry trailer, as restroom trailers, shower trailers, jackhammers, buckets, air compressors, and many, many more. The Florida Division of Emergency Management Logistics Team will continue to support all resource requests. As of this morning, we have 29 individuals who have registered with FEMA's Individual Assistance Program. Currently, there are 22 organizations that are assisting. I want to go ahead and let you know that FEMA has advised me through the administrator that Virginia Task Force 1, Virginia Task Force 2, and Ohio Task Force 1 are on standby awaiting any type of resource requests that we may need. Again, I think it's appropriate to reiterate Mayor Cava's point that we have all the resources we need. We do not need anyone to self-deploy and help us. We have plenty of resources in reserves, ready to respond. The Florida Department of Transportation, as you've seen the dump trucks this morning, have started to assist with moving debris to an alternate site, and they will continue to do so. The Florida Department of Management Services continues to search with a warehouse for resource donations. The Florida Department of Children and Families is coordinating with Miami-Dade County to distribute gift cards for displaced individuals. Additionally, as a reminder, the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles has deployed 2 of their mobile units here for no fee, cost fee free, driver's license and identification cards, vehicle registrations, and titles to the impacted individuals. But I need to remind you that those hours on those mobile units are from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Family Assistance Center. Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles is also coordinating with the Red Cross to identify any impacted individuals needing additional assistance. We know that this is a difficult time for families and first responders involved in the rescue and recovery efforts. Please know that Florida is here to help you, and I thank the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, for their leadership in allowing us to respond and do what we need to do without any hesitation. I want to remind you, if you cannot find the resource that you're looking for, you can always call Florida's 211, and we will get you to the site that you need to be associated with. The state's priority right now is to ensure the county's needs are being met. FDN personnel will continue to remain on the ground to assist with all response efforts until we are no longer needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And now for the Department of Economic Opportunity, Secretary Dane Eagle.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you all know, the governor has been making sure that state resources are available where needed. I was boots on the ground with him on Thursday, day one, to assess the situation. And since then, the Department of Economic Opportunity sent 2 mobile units down here over the weekend. Now, this once bustling community has shut down not only to mourn, but to make way for the first responders so that they can do what they need to service this community and, of course, continue the search and rescue mission. Now, we've spoken with dozens of businesses who are putting their needs aside and servicing these first responders, whether it be through food, we've talked to cafes, or some small barbershops who are offering free haircuts. Now, while they're doing that, they're not having their usual business. So there is a need there that needs to be met. We are trying to assess that need, and we need the media's assistance in doing so. You can send local businesses and the businesses in the area to floridadisaster.biz, floridadisaster.biz. Now, the state is also requesting the assistance of the Small Business Administration at the federal level. We've been in communication with them. We hope to draw down some additional funds. But those surveys that these businesses can assess and do online will help us to bring down those funds as we continue to help those who are suffering, not only the families, but the local businesses who are serving our first responders. Thank you to the governor, the local community, and the federal government for stepping up to assess this need.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And now the Surfside Mayor, Charles Burkett.
Good morning. I would just like to add a few things, talk about I walked the site this morning and tell you what I saw. We had overnight, there were issues with some debris falling off the building. The west side of the pile had to be cordoned off a little bit because it was becoming excessively dangerous to work there. What has happened is that I understand the work still continues from the sides and underneath, but that area was cordoned off until they can sort of get their arms around the debris that's falling down. The second thing is that they've made very good progress on the east end. It's apparent that they've got the pile down to the point where you can see into the parking lot. So there is great progress. Lastly, with respect to the site, there is an overwhelming amount of workers, rescue workers on the site working and with cranes and taking off debris, and the work continues. I attended the family meeting this morning. It was informative. The Israelis had announced that they were going to be bringing in additional workers, which made the families, rescue workers, which made the families. Obviously, I could tell that there was more relief in the room. There was frustration. There was a little anger. There were questions about why the work has to stop when there's rain, thunderstorms, and lightning. The police chief or the fire chief addressed that issue and said that he would talk to the higher ups about whether or not that worked, because it was an interesting comment, because the speaker said that they're already risking their lives anyway. They're working under a building that could fall down. Why do we have to stop for lightning? It was an interesting question, and the chief said he would get back to them. One of the other questions by the family members was, how long can people survive under the rubble? Which was an excellent question, and there didn't seem to be a good answer to that. I had several days ago sent Mayor Cava a copy of an article that I was sent, which dealt exactly with that point. And I thought it was very important to let the family members know, so I stood up and I talked about what I knew from the article. And it talked about there were several different instances, but the most notable was the one from May 2013, where a woman was pulled from the ruins of a factory in Bangladesh 17 days after it collapsed. So I think, as the governor said earlier, nobody, and the lieutenant governor, nobody's giving up hope here. Nobody's stopping. The work goes on, full force. We're dedicated to get everyone out of that pile of rubble and reunite them with their families. We have all the resources we want. I've been saying this since the beginning. We don't have a resource problem. We have a luck problem. And as you know, we just got dumped on by some rain. But thankfully, it looks like that's clearing. But the work will go on. We will continue to work at 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And for the Boulder County Commissioner Chairman, Honorable Jose Diaz.
Thank you, Elvis. As you all know, the mayor, the governor, lieutenant governor, and all that are involved already said the particulars. I simply want to say thank you to all of you for doing your reports in a very humane and proper way, and doing it in a way that it was full of information for people, which is important. I want to thank you from all of us, from my colleagues and I. That is very important. The world is looking, and your news and what you're putting out is what's going on. And I'm very proud that I've been to a lot of unfortunate disasters, and sometimes you really can't watch the news because of the way it's presented. And I will tell you that I'm very proud of all of you and the work you've done, as I am proud of the first responders, as all have stated. And one of them that we haven't mentioned too much, group that is the police. I really want to thank them for the work that Dade County Police and all the police agencies that stepped it up from the cities are doing, and every level, the chief, the director that is here, and everybody else. So I want to thank them and all the other departments. Quiero darle la gracia.
And as Chairman Jose Pepe Diaz continues to speak in Spanish now, he was just basically thanking the first responders, but also the police. The police there are making sure that this area is fully secured. This is a crime scene at the end of the day, so we need to make sure that everyone who's not supposed to be there is not there. So the police continues to do that. They're helping with the transporting of the heavy machinery that's being used. Now, before Chairman Jose Pepe Diaz spoke, we did hear from the mayor of Surfside, who basically said again that the search continues. He mentioned that he read an article about a woman who survived a building collapse in Bangladesh 17 days after that collapse happened there. And it's his way of saying to hold on to that hope. You never know. Miracles do exist. Now, there is no lack of resources here, according to the multiple officials we've been hearing from. Never have we heard something was needed, a resource is needed, more personnel is needed. That has never been a problem, and it continues to not be a problem today. We're going to hear now from I believe the chief from Miami-Dade Fire for an update on the search and rescue efforts now.
We continue to search grid layer by layer, removing debris as we continue to move forward in our search and rescue efforts. As we mentioned before, this is a very tedious effort. It's devastating what occurred in regards to the collapse and what we're seeing. We're moving debris piece by piece and searching through. We moved over approximately 3 million pounds of concrete at this time, which equates to over 850 cubic feet. We have all the state Florida task forces here deployed. We have a federal task force on standby, as well as have the federal incident support team arrive today. Again, extremely difficult. Just when we first arrived and what we saw, the horrific, catastrophic type of collapse. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, we were able during that time frame to remove 37 individuals. 37 individuals. And we continue searching with all our assets and all our support assets. All the task forces here in Florida, as well as the federal on standby, and we will continue to move through. I want to emphasize, when we started this search, it's extremely difficult to what we saw, what we encountered. We deployed our search teams based on what we evaluated and what we saw in regards to highest probability. And as we've been mentioning time and time again with our searches, those are the key things we look for. Constantly running with our canines, our live dogs, searching for hope of life. Using different audible equipment, as well as video equipment, searching for life. That's what we've been doing from the get-go. And then we reevaluate and keep assessing. As we mentioned in regards to the grids, how we have it deployed now with our large equipment that's here and all our different task force. 24 hours a day, we have over 200 task force members made up of Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, Florida Task Force 1, and then all the remaining Florida Task Force. Non-stop, around the clock, searching. It's a methodical, very difficult process. You know, as we're removing debris, we're just finding more debris that's just concrete pulverized. You know, it's extremely difficult. As we mentioned in regards to looking through void spaces, looking for key signs. I want to be clear. I mean, we haven't been seeing those. You know, we come across small and we keep moving. We keep moving. We keep trying. From the get-go, from what we saw, devastating. Okay, but we continue moving forward and continue pushing. And we'll see if we, you know, where we're at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And now to give some comments in Spanish, PIO for Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, Erica Benitez.
3 million pounds of concrete. That's what you just heard from the Miami-Dade fire official that have been moved to get to those survivors. We heard earlier 800 responders are on scene. They are rotating in and out 12-hour shifts in that rescue effort. These are responders on a local, state, and federal level. We're seeing FEMA has many, many boots on the ground. There's 440 state employees that are on site, including those search and rescue teams. They were talking about how tents are set up because of the rain. That's where this press conference is happening right now. Laundry trailers, showers, bathrooms, buckets, air compressors. Because again, these teams are 12-hour shifts, so they need to live their day-to-day life. They need to take the shower. They need to go to the restroom, do their laundry. So that's what FEMA is providing on top of all of those resources they need in order to get these still missing 150 people. Again, the mayor announcing earlier that the number has not changed. They were not able to find anyone in the rubble overnight, and this morning, last night, we got an update of 11. This morning, in this latest press conference, we are hearing that it is still remaining at 11 and 150 still missing.
And these state agencies, they're not just providing resources to our first responders, they're also providing resources to the victims' families. We heard mentioned some sort of mobile or bus where different officials will be able to help those victims that did survive get their driver's license, their vehicle registration, simple documents that obviously was left behind as people were running out of this building trying to survive. So this is a great example of the community and the county and the state and the federal government all coming together day after day after day, just trying to do whatever can be done during this time. You can see that concrete that's being moved, it's an endless amount of concrete, 3 million pounds of concrete. That's only what's been moved so far. So the search continues, the debris continues to be moved, and the officials continue to update us now. This is an official with the Miami-Dade Police Department, if I'm not mistaken. Let's listen in.
Just a minute change. Our new plan has been communicated with our public safety partners and our city officials, and is also posted on social media. So new closures today is going to be Collins Avenue from 8-1 Street to 9-1 Street, and from Harding from 8-1 Street to 9-6 Street. We do have checkpoints at Abbott and 9-6 Street and at Harding and 9-6 Street. And let me reemphasize again that residents specifically within the 33154 zip code, and also employees, business owners, employees of hotels, and customers will be allowed access. Please bear with us. We understand the challenges, and be patient, and we'll get this resolved as soon as we can. Eventually, we're still reevaluating on a daily basis, and our ultimate goal at some point will be to open Harding Avenue. En español. Buenas. Tenemos un
The Miami-Dade police official just updating us on those closures in the area. You can imagine this is a huge area because we do know those families are getting bused as well if they want to go to the collapse site. So I'm sure they're shutting down areas to make sure that everybody stays safe. The only people allowed in are residents. You have to prove that you live there, or if you are maybe a hotel worker, you have to prove that you work in that area. So Collins is shut down in both directions from 81st to 91st. Harding also shut down from 81st to 96th.
And now right here, you are looking at some video from earlier in this process as those first responders were underground looking for survivors. We know that the work continues now above the ground, several task force. We also have rescue teams from Mexico still here, a rescue team from Israel, which, by the way, was at a request that was requested by some of the families of the victims to bring in that task force from Israel, and they arrived here on Sunday, and they've been working ever since, embedded with our local first responders, all of them working together to make sure that whoever is there will be found. Let's go back to this news conference.
Coordinate with our community and local partners as well as our government agencies to provide support to this community. Currently, we have over 125 volunteers and staff on the ground providing highly trained and highly skilled support. In addition, while our main priority is really focusing on the entire community, one of our main focuses at this current moment is to provide assistance to those survivors directly impacted from the Champlain South Tower. We are asking for individuals from that tower, if they have not done so already, to meet with the Red Cross at the Family Assistance Center that the mayor mentioned earlier, as well as if there are any survivors that are staying with loved ones or friends or family outside of the area. We ask that they contact the local Red Cross wherever they are, who will put them in contact with us here on the ground so that we can make sure that we can assess and ensure that they have what they need for this immediate phase of their recovery. As I mentioned earlier in the week, I want to just reiterate, we know how this affects the emotions of folks both here locally and afar. And so as a result, we are working with our local community partners to offer some free emotional and psychological resiliency training. We hope to, over the next 3 to 4 days, to actually have the locations of where we will be providing those free courses to the community. So it'll be a great opportunity for folks just to assess themselves, but also learn how to recognize the signs of trauma or the impacts in their own family, as well as how to speak to their children about things like this. So I would just encourage you guys to be on the lookout for that information as we get the actual dates and locations arranged for that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. We're going to go into questions and answers now, and we appreciate your cooperation so far in all these press conferences. To wait until you're being selected, please address the person who you're going to question, so that way that person can come forward. And immediately following the questions and answers, we're going to go to the Creole translation. Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor.
Expand a little more on the grand jury investigation, when it was impaneled and what it's looking?
So the grand jury has not yet been impaneled. So I was speaking to the state attorney this morning about it, and we were talking about whenever it is moving forward that we will be fully on board. She has announced that she will be asking the grand jury to look at this matter.
And what will it be seeking?
I'm sorry?
What will it seek?
Like all of us, answers.
Any of the Spanish media got a question, so we can alternate here? Spanish right here.
The mayor just expounding on what she mentioned earlier. She's announcing her support of a grand jury investigation by the state attorney into the building collapse. Somebody asked, okay, what does that mean? And she said answers, because that's what we want. We want answers as to how this happened. She also mentioned earlier she's going to be announcing a 30-day building audit for a number of residential properties that are either 5 stories and higher at that recertification point, which is 40 years or older, which is what this building was. It was 40 years. So they're going to be doing that assessment, making sure that any issues within buildings within Miami-Dade County ensure that this doesn't happen again. So that grand jury investigation a big deal because that could mean some more answers to this, further investigating. We know NIST is on scene as well investigating. Let's listen in one more time. I think Miami-Dade Police is still talking in Spanish. So the NIST is on scene. They're going to be cooperating and helping with this investigation as well. That's the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They're going to be investigating the structural damage here. So a number of different agencies, they are there. They are taking a look at the damage already. We are in day 6, entering day 6 of this rescue mission. And we do want to mention this is still a search and rescue mission because of 2 factors that we heard yesterday during the news conference yesterday. They're still hearing some noises, some tapping or scratching, and they also believe their space is large enough for occupants. Now it looks like we're going back to English. Let's listen in.
So we see that devastation to the building that's still standing. When we first arrived, our units did immediate searches, immediate removals in regards from balconies, wherever we found individuals. We searched each unit. So every unit that we're able to gain access, if not through the primary, which is the first time we go through, it's our secondary search. So we searched through there as well. Obviously, we're looking for live victims, individuals. But obviously, if we come across a pet, we would move them as well. We haven't. So we didn't come across any animals as we went through any types of pets during our primary and secondary, so we know that part of it's been searched. Other than that, that's all I can confirm in regards to any possible events.
Because there's many more to get to.
Well, the fact
that you can't access now.
The fact that we went through on our primary and secondary, we would have come across.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chief.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, and another aspect, when we went through there, the building itself, again, in our line of work is fire rescue professionals, Miami-Dade firefighters. Again, the first unit on scene. As a fire chief, I couldn't be prouder. When I look to see what we did, and even now, and I got here probably about 45 minutes into the incident, and when I see what we put ourselves in, wow. The rescue efforts that we did, what we went through going on those initial first hours of this environment at 1:30 in the morning, 1:20 when this came in, 1:24 when this call came in, and just nonstop throughout, and we've been nonstop since. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, Miami-Dade County, all our local resources within Miami-Dade County, all our Florida resources coming with our task force, with our federal teams coming on standby, and that's what we emphasize. I mean, we see the magnitude of this damage. We see, and that building collapsed almost in the footprint of where that building stood. I'm talking about 12 stories with subterranean, with garages, all within that same footprint. So I'm just trying to emphasize the magnitude of what we're encountering, what we're seeing, and we still keep pushing forward. So yes, I mean, we definitely searched and went through.
And the safety issues about
I'm sorry. And the other issue as well, I mean, there's definitely structural issues, and I kind of went off topic there. We can't go back in the building, okay? We have, with our USAR teams, we have structural engineers. We have engineers off-site. With now the federal incident support team arriving, they also will assist with the engineer component. And right now, we will not go back in that building. We have a section cordoned off away from that building that we won't search in as well. Okay, so there's definitely concerns on all aspects, and we keep going.
Thank you, Chief. Followed by the AP.
Hey, Governor.
Governor.
Governor, can you tell us about your meeting with the North Bay Village folks today?
Okay, so the question's about meeting with the chief of police for North Bay Village, who's, I think she was 93-year-old mother, was in the towers. And it was on the one hand heartbreaking, because this is somebody that he had just dropped off back to her home just, I think, 2 days before the collapse. But it was also inspiring because I could see the difference that she made in his life, in his wife's life, and in her grandkids' life. And I think that the life that she led, and for all these years, and obviously, no one's given up hope, but you see that those types of stories replicated throughout with these families, and none of these tragedies are ever easy. It's very difficult to see somebody who's just asleep in their bed, and then you get news that their building just collapsed, and then you're waiting to see what is the resolution? Can they be saved? Can they be identified? And many of these families obviously are waiting. These guys are working their tails off, and as the fire chief said, it is a very difficult scene, and they are leaving no stone unturned, and they're going to continue to do that. But it's been a very, very difficult time, and I think the grief has been, in some respects, unique, just given the scale of the tragedy. But man, I was inspired just talking with him, and you could tell what he's been able to do, what his kids have been able to do. Very successful family, and it all traced back to that matriarch. And God bless her, and God bless that family.
Associated Press.
Alcaldesa.
Mayor Burkett mentioned that there was debris falling from the building this morning. Was that new? Is it getting worse? Does that indicate that there might be some shifts in the remainder of the building that you guys are worried about?
Well, in regards to the building itself, we're constantly monitoring. So no, we haven't seen any shift at all. So we have special technology that's measuring to make sure there's not any shift. So that's a constant. In regards to the debris falling, I wasn't briefed what transpired there. As I mentioned, there's that 45-foot area that we're not, which is next to the building, that we are not working in because of the overhangs, the hazards that we have overhead.
Sir, the group of the
Spanish over here.
Mexico that they have not recovered.
Ma'am, Spanish over here.
And you know, it's those stories that Governor Ron DeSantis was speaking of that I think moves anybody who knows what's happening right now. And it's those stories that echo across the globe at this point. And it's really those stories that motivate those first responders to continue working, despite the fact that that building, the security of that building is being monitored constantly, despite the fact that they are dealing with rain, despite the fact that they had to battle a fire throughout all of this. It's nonstop work, but it's those stories, it's those individuals, it's those families that motivate those first responders to just keep on going. The mayor of Miami-Dade County is now speaking. Let's listen in once again.
There are 210 people on the mound. We can't put anybody else on the mound, so we're circulating in, and they are part of our backup team. Thank you. Sí.
Going on what you just said, Alex, it's those faces. You know, we've been seeing the pictures. We've been showing you pictures of families, giving you the background, because we keep showing you this picture, a giant rubble of concrete, debris, this collapsed building. And it's 150 people that are still missing within that debris that they want to find. We heard an impassioned Miami-Dade fire chief talking about his teams and what an incredible job they're doing. 800 first responders from local, state, and federal agencies, even international teams helping in this search. Let's listen in one more time.
40-something that were due. They've all been under review. We produced a list of those that we find that need to have their issues addressed. They mostly they're electrical issues, not structural. And as you heard earlier, we have directed a unit with 4 balconies to evacuate those areas.
And Mayor, how many buildings are part of that?
The last 2 questions are going to be the gentleman in the black and the lady over here.
For the governor or the mayor, if you guys can talk about whether or not there's an accurate number of how many foreign nationals were in the building and how many were among the unaccounted or confirmed victims. Also, how many foreign nationals may have been given visas and what kind of help those families together.
Well, I'll answer first to say that obviously we have a fluid list of those who are still unaccounted for, and they definitely include foreign nationals. It is a fluid list, so we can't say it's a final list, and we've been in touch with the consulates for the various countries represented, and we are working with the State Department as well. Sí, estamos aquí con,
Right, so if you are just joining us right now, the very latest information stays the same as far as victims found in the rubble. The death toll right now is at 11, 150 people still missing at this hour. Earlier we heard about 3 million pounds of concrete have been moved so far. 3 million pounds, and so much still left there to go through. We know that the efforts continue. As different officials tell us, the resources are here. They have enough personnel. They have enough resources. The focus continues to be the search and rescue mission.
Mayor, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Police officers, a lot of them who are foreign nationals, there might have been staff in the building, staff there. Will they be eligible, or how can they access aid or any other?
Correct. So FEMA is supporting all of the families at this point. Obviously, there may be some things down the line that they would not be eligible, but fortunately for us, because of the outpouring of incredible support, $1.6 million already donated, we are making sure that everybody who needs assistance will get it.